don't know, did I wake up today and just chose negativity? No, never. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kitty Mary and today in this video I want to talk about 5 sustainable fashion trends that I despise, that I don't appreciate, that I think are easily exploited, misunderstood, or simply just trends within the sustainable fashion sphere that is not ideal, in my humble opinion. I also want to highlight some issues that we see with sustainable marketing and how it's super easy to get misled or get fed misinformation about a certain process, a certain product, etc. So let's get into the video. But before we do so, this video is sponsored. This video is sponsored by Ren, and I have been partnering up with Ren all throughout this spring. It's been amazing. Ren is a carbon offsetting program where you can sign up for monthly subscriptions and then support different offsetting projects, not only tree planting, but generally all kinds of clean energy projects, conservation projects. It's really cool. Ren has a significantly higher level of transparency than many other carbon offsetting programs that I have seen. They publish their reports. You can see where your money is going. I think that's really amazing. There is a big focus on the fact that, well, carbon offsetting isn't just one thing. It isn't just planting random trees somewhere, but it's a full circle experience, and they work with their projects thoroughly in a way that I really appreciate. You sign up for a monthly subscription with Ren and then you can choose the projects that you want to support. And the first 100 people to sign up using my link will get an extra 10 trees planted in their name. Thank you so much to Ren for sponsoring this video. Now let's get into the 5 sustainable fashion trends that I hate. First thing on my list is bamboo clothing with zero transparency. I have actually talked in great length about bamboo. I have 2 impact videos about bamboo. First of all, just the production of bamboo in general, and then also bamboo clothing. And I want to expand a little bit on that, and I will also repeat some of the things that I said in the impact video if you want the full experience. You can find the impact video down below. But the thing is, with bamboo clothing, it has a chokehold on sustainable fashion at this point. And while there's not necessarily anything wrong with bamboo, simply just creating clothing out of bamboo, and because it's made out of bamboo you market it as more sustainable, is really not amazing. There is a big difference between how different types of bamboo is grown and produced, and I see a lot of the same talking points being repeated through the fashion industry. One thing that I keep seeing all the time is that bamboo grows a lot faster than trees. Bamboo is UV protective. Bamboo is antibacterial. Bamboo requires a lot less water. Bamboo doesn't require pesticides. All of these things sound amazing, right? So first of all, while it's true that bamboo is a lot more sturdy, it grows in places where trees cannot grow, which is amazing. So it doesn't necessarily add to deforestation. It uses a lot less water to grow, etc. However, a lot of studies actually find that even though bamboo has those qualities, the increased demand for bamboo, especially so now in the West, has caused a lot of farmers to actually participate in those practices anyway. Deforestation, using a lot of water, using pesticides. So bamboo isn't always free of pesticides, isn't always removed from deforestation. In many cases, it's actually still the case. And the thing is, with bamboo, there is still not a lot of supply chain transparency. So when I see a brand just going, we have bamboo, bamboo has all these qualities, my first initial question is, where does your bamboo come from? Can you trace your sourcing of the bamboo to a place where you know for a fact that that's not the case? Then there's this thing about bamboo clothing being UV protective, and while that may have some merit, all clothing is UV protective. So I guess my big pet peeve is that bamboo material is made out to be this miraculous thing that is just inherently always sustainable, and it isn't. Bamboo clothing is also just a plant-based viscose material, just like when you make viscose from cellulose fibers from wood production. Bamboo is a tough, hard material, and it takes a lot of chemicals to make it soft. it isn't inherently soft, and that process can be super damaging to the environment, just like with regular viscose production. So unless it's happening in a closed loop system, in a system that in an innovative way uses less chemicals and less water and also takes care of its wastewater, the production of bamboo material for fabric isn't inherently great. And sadly, I don't see a lot of sustainable companies talking about all those things. They're just really highlighting the same talking points, and it bothers me. Anyway, that's bamboo. Now, while I have talked about this a couple of times before, don't come for me, this is a personal preference, but I don't love capsule wardrobes, minimalist wardrobes. I don't have anything against people that find pleasure or joy or value in capsule wardrobes, in minimizing their wardrobes. Obviously, go for it, queen, always. Like, I'm not one to judge whatsoever. However, I guess my problem arises when a lot of businesses and brands assume that every sustainability activist, that every environmentalist, every consumer that sort of cares a little bit about the planet only wants to wear white t-shirts. Very basic pieces of clothing. Not basic in a derogatory way, but just basic in the sense that I only wear black jeans and white t-shirts kind of style. Again, nothing wrong with that, but it's so rare that I see a sustainable brand that does all the good things that sustainable fashion does, whilst also creating interesting, flamboyant, large pieces of clothing that are just really, you know, exciting and colorful, or perhaps uses interesting patterns or like statement pieces, stuff like that. I think is really cool. Within this, I don't like when companies do this. We could also talk about the huge size issue that sustainable fashion is definitely experiencing. Usually the sizes are very limited, which is a whole other issue in and of itself that we could also definitely go into detail with. I am not necessarily loving that there is so little room for pizzazz. And I love pizzazz. Like, I love when clothing is interesting and fun and silly, and I think it's really amazing. And I use vintage shops and thrift shops, secondhand shops, etc. for those kinds of things. There are also businesses that are branching out into that area. Marla Clothing, that I've worked with for ages, is one of them, and I love all their exciting styles. But the fact is that a lot of people, businesses, consumers, etc. are still associating sustainable fashion with minimalism and capsule wardrobes, etc. And there should be room for all of it. I think I've mentioned this a million times, but sustainability is not an aesthetic, and you can look any way you want to or explore any style you want to and still do it sustainably. And we definitely need to evolve the sustainable fashion industry a little bit in that regard. Okay, this is something that branches into sustainable fashion, but generally it's just the fashion industry in general, but I absolutely despise activism chic. And this is specifically when fast fashion brands are using social or environmental issues to promote their own clothing, or when they create clothing with text and logos and brands and like mottos and, you know, generally just wokeness. I hate it specifically because it's so shallow. It's not even below surface level, and I think there is a huge issue in, for instance, promoting feminist issues and talking about equality and diversity whilst also using sweatshops to produce your clothing with slave labor. I just don't like it. I don't like it at all. And we see a lot of, especially like H&M and stuff, but we see fast fashion brands that are using environmental issues as well to promote their clothing or to set a certain tone for their brand. And they're just completely misusing the environmental movement. I don't love it. If I see any piece of clothing with any like, yeah, the planet, yeah, women, yeah, any social environmental issue, and it's from a fast fashion brand, no. And maybe I am a huge skeptic and a naysayer and a party pooper, but that's life, baby. I don't think you should be able to profit off of movements that try to fight the issues that you created. I feel like that is capitalism at its worst, in its core form. No, I'm not loving it, no. This next thing I've seen being done in a great way, and I've seen it being done in the most half-assed greenwashed way. Generally, I have a pet peeve with untransparency. Who would have thought? A thing that I definitely often regard as a red flag until I can uncover more and learn more is clothing or generally products that's being advertised as being made from ocean plastic or plastic bottles, etc. The thing is, it can be done in a really great way and there can be a lot of transparency. You can see all the steps, which is amazing. But there's also definitely times where there is no mention of how these products are made, where the material is sourced from, who has made it, or generally any of the steps that is required for a plastic bottle to be turned into shoes. And there is a lot of steps. It's a long supply chain and it's not as simple as just going out into the ocean and picking up plastic, running it through a magical machine, and then shoes come out. And sometimes some brands are presenting it that way, and I feel like that's misleading, and I feel like that is simplifying a process that isn't that simple, and it makes me believe that perhaps the entire process of making that product specifically wasn't necessarily made in the best or most sustainable way. There are manufacturers that you can reach out to and collaborate with that are using ocean plastic, but there's really no way for you to guarantee that it is in fact 100% ocean plastic. Is it 100% ocean plastic, or is it just 10%? There is a lot of variation when it comes to these sorts of products. There's a lot of variation there, and I think simplifying the process is unbeneficial to everybody. It makes many consumers think that you can just go out and pick up trash and turn it into things that's going to be amazing, when in reality you have to be really selective with what kinds of material you're using. Not all plastics are created equally, not all plastics can be used in the same way. A lot of ocean plastic is really brittle, so how is that being chosen? Who is selecting it? Who is sorting through this trash? There is a longer supply chain in ocean plastic products than one might expect. And I think it's detrimental to present it as something that is super easy to do. That makes me believe that that's not actually what's happening. I think a lot of my pet peeves can be boiled down to, don't just oversimplify a process that requires many steps, because if you oversimplify it, you're misrepresenting it, and it makes me believe that you're not actually doing what you're telling me you're doing. And lastly, I see a lot of sustainable brands doing this, but I also see a lot of fast fashion brands doing the same thing as a way of being sustainable, and it just grinds my gear. So when Pleather, plastic leather, it's a synthetic leather alternative that's made from petroleum, that is made from plastic, is just labeled as vegan leather. Generally, there is an issue with vegan just being used, and then all of a sudden it's a big stamp of approval because everything that's vegan is sustainable inherently. Now, I am a vegan myself, but I don't think just labeling something as vegan is enough of a sustainability effort for me to want to buy it, or for that product to be sustainable, as a matter of fact, especially not when it's just leather. There are a lot of more sustainable leather alternatives that are also vegan, and there's a lot of innovation happening within that field, but simply because it's vegan doesn't mean that it's sustainable. And I feel like plastic leather is the best example of that, and I've seen so many ads for plant-based vegan leather, and then it's just petroleum. Are you guys okay? I think that's both misrepresenting to consumers what veganism means, and I also think it's doing veganism a huge disservice in terms of watering it down. And there are probably vegans out there that don't care about sweatshop workers or don't really think about plastic pollution. However, I feel like we can do better. I just feel like it's the bar's in hell. The bar is so low, the bar's in hell. Anyway, simply labeling something as vegan as the only sustainability initiative and then going out and finding the most unsustainable material on the planet, that is vegan technically. Although I guess oil is made from ancient carbon-based life forms, but I don't think they were exploited in the process of making oil. Anyway, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. And that was it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you liked it. Leave a comment down below and tell me what your biggest sustainable fashion pet peeves are. I would love to hear. And if you want me to make another video like this, or perhaps the complete opposite, I could talk about my favorite sustainability fashion trends. I don't know, the concept, it hasn't fully formed yet. But let me know if you want to see that. This month we're talking a lot about greenwashing, so if you haven't subscribed, do that now to stay updated on that. I also have a series about greenwashing, how to spot it, how to deal with it, the types of greenwashing, me reacting to greenwashing, etc. Check that video out as well, and have an amazing day and take really good care of yourselves. Until next time, bye. Thank you so much for watching this video, and also a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys help me create green zero waste content and I love you guys. You can find the links to my social media accounts down below and the link to my Patreon on this screen. Bye!